everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon here as well. We've got a special guest tonight. It is, of course, our wrestling fun facts and trivia guru, Mike. He is going to be joining us tonight for a very special NXT 2.0 review of the entire show of their new rebranding over there at NXT. So before we get into the show, though, let's ask you guys to please hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So without any further ado, let's go on ahead and let's get into this show here. This is actually our second take. We had a little bit of technical difficulties here, but we started off talking basically about the new intro and theme song. So go ahead. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I don't like it.
Ditto.
Yeah. What did you say? Was it no Wild and Young? Thank God.
That's what I said.
Because that's...
the thing is, I get it, but at the same time, it's like one of those situations where, like, you get so used to one thing. You remember when the Raw is War song came on? Like, you knew.
Yeah, it was about to go down.
Was, you know?
Well, even the one they did for the first hour. Yeah.
Yeah. And then now, I'm so used to the NXT song. I don't know. They changed it once before, too.
Yeah.
And then it grew on me. And I liked it. And then they changed it again. And I don't like it. I don't like this one at all. Like, I don't want it to grow on me because I don't like it.
And maybe I'm just, like this, but I know a lot of wrestling fans in particular, and me myself included, I prefer the wrestling songs like back in the Attitude Era and stuff. They used like these hard rock songs like Saliva and Disturbed. Now they're using pop, and I'm just kind of like, it's not for me. Not that this is necessarily bad music per se, but Wale here is not my particular cup of tea. But yeah, it is an improvement over Wild and Young. I don't think you could ever get that bad. But wow, never say never. This is.
Why do you think I said that?
This is Vince McMahon's though, or at least supposedly Vince McMahon. But he does run the whole company. But let's get into the first segment here, though. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like the booking of this, but we'll talk about it here. We have an opener, which they kind of don't they have like a cut scene before this, kind of like where they're in the back. An LA Knights, who's this? This Braun Breaker guy, which is the commentary never said that he was actually Rick Steiner's son. So if you're any sort of wrestling historian or know your pro wrestling at all, you know who Rick Steiner is.
He's a 33 and a third of Rick Steiner.
You using that Steiner math? Yeah. But no, I mean, the dog-faced gremlin, as they used to call him, his son here.
Oh, his son. Yeah, I thought, not Scott Steiner. It's Scott. Well,
yeah, well, Scott's brother, Rick.
33 and a third.
Yeah, that's the other Scott. The other Steiner.
Then.
Yeah. But so Braun Breaker is Rick Steiner's son. I don't remember his full name. It's like Rex Steiner is I think something like that. But anyway, they call him Braun Breaker here. And apparently commentary was not allowed to refer to him as Rick Steiner's son. That's the report going around. If that's the case, I don't understand why. Now, like Mike mentioned that.
They've done it to others in the past. They've mentioned, here's Michael McGillicuddy. He's Kurt Henning's son. Well, why aren't you calling him Henning?
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned that maybe it's because they want him to make it on his own. But at the same time,
but that could also be a thing with him too. Like I can't remember whose kid it was. Think about Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas.
Mike Rotundo.
It's one of those situations where it was like, yeah, my dad did this, but like I'm not him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's fine.
Maybe it's where he's like, yeah, I get it. He's my father, but this is me. You know what I mean? It could be that for all we know.
And I understand what you're saying. Sure. I would be inclined to believe that that's what's happening here if it didn't happen to two other wrestlers on this show at the same time. There was 3 people on the show that had lineages that they never mentioned. Now I can't remember who all they were, but some of the younger talents. One of them was one of the the Beverly Brothers' sons, and the other one was the son. Do you remember who the other one was, Mike, at all? I can't remember.
I can't place it off the top of my head.
Maybe it'll be in this report, but there was 2 people on this show who had like second or third generation here. So, and not only that, if you're trying to hide the fact that you're one of like Rick Steiner's son, you are dressed exactly like him here without the headgear.
And you look like him.
And you look like him. Now that we know that, it makes all the sense in the world why he was dressed like that. So, but it would be nice to know that during the telecast. So I'd be like, oh, I get it now. But now you're just like, I mean, you got this wild, what was that? The tights on with the splash colors. It looks like you were NXT branded with this new color scheme. But I mean, that notwithstanding, And we've had this discussion too about Anthony Ogogo in AEW. Braun Breaker is a ridiculous name. So, but again, it's kind of the Vince McMahon 1980s. Like we talked like the other night on our wrestling review that if Randy Orton was debuted back in the 80s, he would have been known as Randall Wrecker or something like that. You know, it would have been something cheesy. But any thoughts on his name as Braun Breaker with 2 Ks?
He wanted the name Stone Cold Iceman.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, what? You know, some of these names they come up with, it's that's WWE.
I don't know who. Look, we can sit here and shit on Vince McMahon all we want.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to make it that.
There's probably some other people that come up with these fucking names, and they come up with a list of them, and
maybe
they're not good.
Yeah, I can just see Vince in the back going,
not at all.
Braun Breaker. You know, that's what he. You know,
but you got to sell it.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. Well, anyway, he must have believed it enough though, because in this opening match, he absolutely beats LA Knight clean in the middle of the ring here. But it was basically what was like a power press slam that he turned into a power slam to get the pinfall here. So, yeah, the LA Knight, the guy who was one of the 4 participants in tonight's main event for the vacated NXT title, by the way. We need to discuss how Samoa Joe this week just, vacates the title. Of course, he said it was due to an injury, and the doctors weren't allowed to let him, compete. A lot of debate going on, though, whether or not that's legit. I tend to believe that he's probably not hurt. That's just my opinion.
We don't know for sure.
We don't know for sure. No, but it's just convenient timing for one. And not only that, he hasn't wrestled since his match at the last pay-per-view where he won the title. So it's like, when did he get hurt? If he was hurt before, why are we just now finding out 2 days before the new brand? It just feels like
training.
Yeah, maybe. It's possible. But if he is hurt, maybe he needs to consider not wrestling anymore because he's getting injured all the time. But to me, it just feels weird, and not to mention, he's a guy that's not going to suit Vince's liking when it comes to some of the decisions they're making and the changes they're doing. He's not. I think he's definitely not under 30. He's definitely not got the physique he'd look for. Now you could argue Champa isn't that either, but I got a theory about why Champa wins the NXT title here tonight too. There was a lot of speculation going along that possibly they put the belt on Champa so he'd get beaten by, say, Braun Breaker at some point, and it kind of puts the final nail in that old NXT coffin because Ciampa is one of the staples there. But that's the speculation. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but a lot of rumors going around about some of these decisions. It's like, it makes you think.
I mean, and it's rumors. I mean, we could all be dead fucking wrong.
We could be, absolutely. And maybe it just, we want to get new names on there, but Ciampa's not a new name. I actually thought when we get to the main event, when Von Wagner got in, I was like, they're going to give him the belt, ain't they? But my first thought before we got to that, though, was this match here with LA Knight. LA Knight loses, and they're still going to have LA Knight in the main event. I thought, okay, it's going to be classic WWE booking, like, oh, he lost the opening match, but by the end of the show, he's going to win the belt, which they didn't do, which...
I thought it too. If you remember, before the show, I even messaged you and said I called LA Knight to win the thing. Mm-hmm. So I thought that's who they were going to put the belt on.
Well, I think me and Brendan, even at work before the show started, we kind of thought that might be where they go with it, because he fits Vince's mold, a young guy, good talker.
When he lost the opener,
yeah,
I thought for sure. I was like, yep, he's getting it.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of ridiculous. It's like, okay, you just
but
proved
I told
you're not
you about
worthy.
My problem with LA Knight too.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, say it again, because our audience don't know.
It's like, when LA Knight first signed Eddie Edwards, what the fuck you want to call him? I was like, see, my problem with him is
Eli Drake.
Listen to Eli Drake. That's what it was. Hard. If you listen to him talk, he has the same cadence as The Rock,
and it's good.
Same cadence, same. You know what I mean? Like, have you listened to him speak? And it's like, it's this for me. It's this off-putting thing because I've heard this before. Mm-hmm. And you're not the one who says it. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, and it's just weird. And it's honestly because if you think about it, it's someone you idolize. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could find that in wrestling and music today. Like, there are certain people that influence certain people, and it's not that you do it on purpose, but you imitate and emulate certain things about what they do that got you to be that fan. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, it's just it was like this weird disconnect for me.
You're watching LA Knight going, how dare you stand and say what he said? That sort of thing.
Like, it's off-putting. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's probably unintentional. You know what I mean? It's just one of those situations that, this is someone he idolized, and here we are. But he could very well, could have won that title, and I would have believed it.
Yeah.
I would not have liked the fact if he'd have won the title and lost the opener, because to me, doing that makes you look like you don't deserve to be in that main event. Losing to our perspective, a relative nobody who's never he might have been on NXT maybe once before, I think they said, but Von Wagner had not been. But for him to go out to lose that opener, I thought that was a terrible booking call, especially since LA Knight was going to be in the main event still. And we'll get a little bit more into that when we get into the reason why O'Reilly was pulled out. Because to me, it's like the O'Reilly thing didn't make much sense in regards to the LA Knight stuff, but we'll get to that when we get to the beatdown that he sustained. But yeah, I guess apparently LA Knight's new moniker is the $1 Million Megastar, which is interesting because he's no longer the $1 Million Champion. So that's another.
But he's still.
The belt's not even there anymore.
Right? Yeah, they just completely. Yeah, which I understand. Maybe you don't need the belt anymore at this point, but it was all about getting Cameron Grimes and LA Knight over more, and I thought it worked. But now I'm concerned about, especially LA Knight, considering he takes 2 losses in this show, which is like, again, weird booking there. But that notwithstanding, this opening match was definitely a shocker, and I'm not a big fan of the booking. Now, that being said, though, Braun Breaker looked fine. I had no problem with the young guy. He looks good. Maybe you could have presented him as Rick Steiner's son better or whatever, and maybe you don't book him against LA Knight as the opening match. I get maybe you want to start with a shock, new rebrand, new show, all eyes are hopefully on it, even though the ratings I think they were slightly up from what they were, but a lot of that's curiosity probably. But we'll see if any of this actually works with which before we get too much further.
You don't always go by the first week.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends on how it continues here over the next few months or whatnot. But I know we talked about the music a little bit. Before we get too much further into this, what about the aesthetic, the look, the bright lights, the no more black mat in the ring, no more yellow ropes. I actually do think the way the crowd is laid out is fine. I like the NXT video board with inside the letters. I thought that was cool, but it's just it feels to me too much like Raw and SmackDown. And to me, it's like, yes, I don't mind Raw and SmackDown's look, except for the fact it looks like it's 20 years into the future. And of course, I think you need to stop with the 3D visuals over the entrances and stuff. I think that's just too much. But
see, this comes down to a lot of personal preference.
It does.
You may not like it.
Yeah.
But
I understand.
There may be people who enjoy that aesthetic.
And don't get me wrong, it looks beautiful. Absolutely. It's just, to me, I don't feel like every wrestling show needs to feel the same, but this is the WWE style now, and that's just all there is to it. Go ahead.
You want your shows to have their own different personalities.
And I think that's what it was for me. Like, back in the day, SmackDown felt different from Raw.
Yeah. The
different
red brand and the blue brand.
Yeah, different sets too, which they don't have now.
Yeah.
No.
And NXT had that.
And I mean, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
NXT had what I remember. Some people said the original Raw used to be, when they used to be in the Manhattan Center, said it was just this more. What's the words they use? I lost it now. Just kind of more involved with the fans. It's like it was more closer for the fans.
Intimate,
and
more intimate setting.
Felt like, and that was what made it unique and why I liked it so much. The setting, and now it's just the little brother of Raw and SmackDown.
See, so I said this. I said for me, what I enjoyed about NXT was NXT had a totally different feel to it, and I equate that to. When I first started watching TNA/Impact, the 6-sided ring was so unique in the sense of like it was something I never seen before, right? And so for me, NXT was this. It started out in humble beginnings. It was a developmental brand, but strictly that's what it was. You never saw these guys. Because it wasn't even NXT, it was FTW, not FTW, Jesus Christ.
FCW.
Yeah.
FCW.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is what AEW Dark feels like now to me. But yeah, I get your point.
And so it was, and then they were like, hey, we have all these guys here, and Triple H decided to do something with those guys, right? but it was still developmental. But you got that developmental was what brought you guys like your Sami Zayn's, Kevin Owens, your Seth Rollins, your Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambroses. You know what I'm saying? Like those were those guys came from, but it had this feel to it. It was like an indie show because that's what it was kind of marketed as before it became the big, bombastic thing it was in doing these pay-per-views. Those pay-per-views were they were doing shows for local people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what it was. It wasn't televised. It was just for local people. And then it became this thing of, we have the time. We have our own streaming service. Why not put this on there? Mm-hmm. So they did. But it still kept that indie look. The dim lighting, it looked like they were in a big gymnasium. They weren't. But that's what it felt like watching it. Right. And the wrestling in the ring felt like it. Because when you watch professional wrestling, any professional wrestling, any company, professional wrestling on TV feels different because these guys are making a certain amount of money. Right? And they act like they're making a certain amount of money. The same thing between college football and pro football, right? In pro football, you're playing for a fucking check, okay? And college football, you're playing for the ability to get play that. For check.
right.
So in indie wrestling, you're still playing for a check, but it ain't that damn.
It ain't big. Much. No.
But you're playing for that big check, So NXT had this certain appeal to it because it felt like these guys were playing for that big check. So wrestling meant way more to them. They went out there and they busted their ass. They gave you something totally different, things that you didn't get on the main roster of any wrestling at that point in time, right? Outside of New Japan, then that's just because everybody over there is fucking insane. So... But it was you get what I'm saying? Like it was a totally different feel. And then when the coronavirus happened and all this shit, they gave it a new feel of this lockdown situation, right? And then they brought in the plexiglass and in the fucking chain link fences. To me, it was like it became this underground thing.
Yeah, what Raw underground should have been.
Yeah, that's what it should have looked like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It gave it this real gritty. Even the way it was shot, the way, I don't know if it's camera effects or whatever the hell it was, but the screen looks so gritty. Like this is illegal. We shouldn't be watching this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then now it's just this bright color palette, and I'm like, not a fucking fan.
Mm-hmm. It just, to me, it feels main roster, which is what they're going for. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Because as we've talked here on the channel too many times before, as much as it may not be our particular cup of tea, the ratings bear out that NXT is the worst of the three shows when it comes to the overall ratings. So in their minds, this is the right move because Raw and SmackDown get more viewers, and why is NXT not? Oh, it don't look like Raw and SmackDown. So let's make it look like Raw and SmackDown. And who's to say that's the wrong move when it comes to the ratings in general? I mean,
you're right. And that's the thing. You could be 100% correct. It may have been appealing to me the way it was.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it may not be for mainstream.
Well, I was about ready to say. Oh, go ahead.
At the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah,
that's what this is. Correct.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If he has employees, the employees need to be paid. This is a business at the end of the day. I may not agree. I mean, I can relate this to real life. Yeah. I may not agree with your business choices, but again, this is your business.
Yeah.
I've been making very smart ones lately.
Doing the work.
I agree with that. Yep. But our friend,
I still need a paycheck.
Yeah, our friend Brandy though, from work. Shout out to her. She's watching, which probably not. But anyway, she even mentioned because when she was working near me, she was talking about how she likes to watch AEW and she was watching some Raw and stuff. But she said NXT to her was too dark. It just didn't feel like it was a big deal. So to their credit, if she's kind of that, I think that she kind of probably fits into that casual fan category.
Yeah.
So right there, I mean, that's just one person we know. I know for a fact that there's it just doesn't work for me because it doesn't click in, just because of the way it looks.
And then that again could be a number of fucking people.
Yeah.
It may work for us, but it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're also not part of that demographic, but you got to think about it in the sense of we make a small part of the demographic that enjoys that shit.
Yeah. It's a shame too, because that's what NXT was probably between 2014 to I don't know 19 or whatever those years were, where it was absolutely at top tier level. Takeovers were like could rival anything in New Japan, that sort of stuff. That to me is what pro wrestling is. Like kind of like what like All Out was a couple weeks ago or whatever. That is pro wrestling, right? Or at least current day pro wrestling, I should say. The best of the best.
Yeah, think about this too. Like we watched the NXT takeover and NXT matches between some of the guys that Walter and
Dragon.
like the one match between it wasn't Dragon.
The Mania one.
Walter and
oh gosh, I can't remember who it was either off the top of my head. But that match that really absolutely ruled at Takeover Stand and Deliver at WrestleMania weekend or week.
Yeah, was it Champa?
I think it was Champa.
It might have been Champa. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It was Champa.
But yeah, it's brutal. Yeah.
But amazing at the same time. Mm-hmm. Now again, that appealed to us.
Mm-hmm.
But like I told you, and I've said 1,000 times before, that is boring.
Yeah. To some people,
it is because it doesn't. It's because your new wrestling demographic and your new wrestling fans are more inclined to enjoy the spot fest shit.
The
eye-catching stuff. And that's why bright colors fucking work.
The short attention span, that's what they're going for. But and to our friend of the podcast, your buddy Tony has mentioned many times his, the Walter Ciampa match is one of his I believe it was his favorite match of WrestleMania weekend. But that style is not what appeals to fans today, and it's a shame.
And that's what I'm saying. It has to be the flashy shit. Mm-hmm. It's the bright colors. Why do you think people love the Lucha Brothers so much? Why do you think people love the Young Bucks and shit like that?
I don't.
Yeah, go away, Heat for Michael.
No, but it's not being marketed to you. Like you make up a smaller demographic than the majority.
I understand that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I get it. It may not be your cup of tea, but their main audience, that's what they want.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah, and the beauty of all this is, though, WWE does have that different style. If you don't like it, luckily now there's an alternative. So whether that be AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, whatever, there's plenty of it. So there's always something. So that's a beauty part of it. Like we've said, this may not appeal to us, but somebody it does. But the good thing, there is a positive I think to this new NXT rebrand. Before we get back into the rest of the show here. Well, the problem that NXT was having of late, they would call up a guy like Kevin Owens. He'd be hot right for a while, and then look where he is now. He's not even on the show sometimes, or he's just doing the KO show with no real purpose to it.
Yeah.
Or there's lists of hundreds of names probably that they've called up, and Karrion Kross, who they beat right away. So the call ups are not, they don't always go well. Yeah, I know, but the way this is structured now, that they're basically training you from the jump to do main roster stuff. It, to me, probably means that when they do get called up to Raw and SmackDown, they won't have to change things. You just say, all right, now you're on Raw and SmackDown. The way it should have been before, where you just call up a guy like Karrion Kross, don't change the gimmick, don't change the entrances, don't change the music, don't change the style of wrestling, none of that. Now they're going to already be bred to do that. So in a way, that is a positive for WWE, I think. You guys agree with that?
Another Dewdrop.
Yeah, or Dewdrop, which UK, but yeah, it's the same thing. You don't have to change your name from Piper Niven to Dewdrop. You should be able to just say, all right, here you go, you're ready to go, go. But that was the biggest problem with NXT before. So hopefully this will at least, because if you breed them now under this current structure, and then you bring them up to the main roster and say, oh, we got to change everything about them now. You guys created it. It wasn't Hunter or their ideas down there. Mm-hmm. It's yours. So why are you changing them now? So hopefully this will stick this time. So that may be one positive of this thing. Even if though there's other positives too, because there were times in this show it wasn't bad. But we'll just see where they go in the future here. But let's get back into some of these segments before we run too long here. The next matchup was. First of all, they had the NXT roster members congratulating Breakker in the back. Basically, guys we've never seen before, probably some of these new talents, which that's the thing on this show, too. They were introducing it felt like thousands of talents in one show. Just say, hey, new guy, new guy, new guy, new girl, that sort of thing. It's like, all right, whoa, we got to get time to breathe this in here. But the next match, though, was Imperium. Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner defeated Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs. I think it was Meltzer, I believe, was talking about how, I think it was him. No, it was somebody on the podcast, but they're talking about how one of them was referred to as Brother Briggs. So, but at some point, I got to feel it's going to be Brother Brooks and Brother Briggs. That's what they're going to be known as, which is kind of like, oh my. But yeah, Imperium.
I mean, depends on what you do with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Here's the thing. To shit on it is one thing. Like, I mean, I don't know what they're going. I can't see where they're going yet
with a lot of these talents. Yeah.
So it's a lot of wait and see right now too.
It is.
There are some gimmicks that whatever. You can pull it off. You can pull it off. You know what I mean? You stick LA Knight back, in the early 90s and 2000s with that gimmick, it would be shit. Nobody would buy that shit. He just kind of struck it in a situation, and they put him with like Cameron Grimes. Perfect example. You stick Cameron Grimes with the gimmick he has now, nobody would have enjoyed that shit. Nobody.
Right.
We were too busy watching Mae Young give birth to a hand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Braun penny matches. You know what I mean? Like, we weren't interested in that shit.
I mean, this whole show had a lot of 1990s, 1987 type stuff, like with the Braun Breaker's attire looked straight out of the 1990s, the singlet, and then now you've got Jensen and Briggs cutting promos before the match, kind of like all of the Wrestling Challenge in 1987, that sort of thing, where there's during
the match.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So, but yeah, it definitely felt like an old episode of Superstars from the early 90s, no doubt about it, which is probably what they wanted, and again, nothing wrong with the old Superstars, we just don't see that nowadays. So it'd be interesting to see if they continue to do things like that. But this led to Jensen basically climbed on the top rope. Bartel distracts him. It allowed Fabian Eichner to hit Jensen with an avalanche butterfly suplex, and he covered him for the pinfall. I will say this about Imperium, though. With this new aesthetic, with the bright lights and everything, it really made Imperium look out of place because Imperium's got this dark entrance. I mean, they kind of had the white lighting and stuff, but it was hard because usually they come out to basically pure darkness, right, or close to it.
No, it's the light. It's always the light. The light is in the background. Like, the focal point is on them because, like, with them, their whole gimmick is they're pure wrestlers. So you don't get the flashy. Yeah, you don't get flashy entrances and shit like that. You don't get. It's not about that. Yeah. It's about you focus on them. They're for what you're supposed to focus on when it comes to the Imperium.
Yeah,
I was at least glad to see that Imperium got the win here, especially after what happened with LA Knight right before it. I get that some of these new guys need to get some wins too. Nothing wrong with that. I just want to see them book them properly and then earn those wins, not just go out and beat your top talent that we've seen for weeks.
More of that, like, boom, here they are.
Yeah.
Now we can work forward.
Yeah, let's hope so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, I thought the booking was okay, though. We had a promo from Hit Row. They put over B-Fab before her debut on NXT here. Then B-Fab gets a match with Katrina Cortez, another person I've never seen. But B-Fab gets a win here, so it makes sense to do that booking considering you're building Hit Row. I'm not going to lie, I did not necessarily think that B-Fab looked all the greatest. But again, this is developmental. No. So let's get that out of the way before we criticize any of it. It's kind of like when you're watching Dark or Elevation on YouTube for AEW. It's not going to be 100% perfect because these people are still learning. That's the whole point. So let's do that. But yeah, that being said, though, yeah, she kind of looked a little rough here in spots. But B-Fab hit a high kick and she boots Cortez in the face, and B-Fab pins her. It was pretty short, but it was definitely an enhancement match, no doubt about it. But
sorry, I was going to say something that I choked. So too, like, we've been kind of spoiled with NXT.
Yeah,
and their wrestlers.
True.
Because, like, you have this certain expectation when you watch NXT. Because normally everybody they put in front of you goes. You know what I mean?
Every week, every match. Almost.
So it's always weird when it's that one. You're like, oh, that's odd.
Well, that's,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a thing with this new rebrand too. You're not going to get the same level of matches every week because the ones who were doing that, they're not on the show, or they've left the company, or they're just not highlighting them now because they're trying to get these new people over, which I get. But yeah, the quality is going to suffer. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Mike? Or No? I didn't know if you had anything else to say. All right, but no.
I thought you said something about the mic.
No. You being Mike, but no. But to me, I mean, B-Fab kind of, she's got this Jade Cargill thing going on with me, where she's got a good look, she can talk okay, but needs some work in the ring still. So I'll say that up front. But after the match, B-Fab went to cut a promo. She is interrupted by Elektra Lopez and the rest of Legado del Fantasma. She was dressed like Carmen Sandiego, which is interesting. So she was also flanked by the rest of the group, and Lopez and B-Fab had words for each other. So I guess that's going to. Which these two feuds have been feuding, or two factions have been feuding. So they're going to be, they're going to definitely lead to some more between these two groups.
And I'm still trying to figure out who the heels are supposed to be and the baby faces.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, Hit Row but they've always been in this weird situation because, they started off as heels. But again, with any crowd, they're going to gravitate to who they find the most entertaining. Yeah. And that has been Hit Row. And, even though they should be getting booed, they're getting cheered because they're entertaining.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like I told, we had the discussion before. Kenny Omega goes out there, he's getting a pop. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. Not many people, even he was even getting cheers with Daniel Bryan, and you're gonna have that no matter what. And Daniel Bryan was saying some pretty heelish shit during the whole interview. Yeah. So it's like, is there a clear distinction? A lot of times, yeah, but then sometimes, no.
You just want to see the good match that it's coming. So I mean, to me, with the whole Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma stuff, is like, I thought this was going to lead to, Santos Escobar getting a North American Championship match against Swerve, but they just don't seem to be pulling the trigger on it. So it's like, okay, where are we going here?
Well, maybe they want to get more out of Swerve before they do that.
It's possible. And maybe this kind of all ends with that before, kind of like what they did with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle on AEW. Maybe it's built around the faction. Maybe it comes down to building one-on-one. We could get to that point. So that's possible. So I'm willing to give it a chance to see where they go with it. But, so after this, though, we had looked like Gargano and Cameron Grimes and Odyssey Jones were in the back, and Austin Theory returns to NXT. Basically, he's like, I thought you ran away. And he goes, I did. That sort of thing. And so they surprised Gargano, or he surprised Gargano by returning. Theory says every wedding needs a priest, so Theory brought in Damian Priest, an NXT alum here, and the current United States champion on Monday Night Raw. Gargano is very glad to see him and all, but Priest is not an actual priest that can officiate the wedding, so Austin Theory was confused by this. So it was good comedy as this whole Gargano and Theory and the family, or the way, and with the Dexter Lumis stuff has always been good.
So far, a guy they've not screwed up on the main roster.
Kudos to WWE for that. Yeah, him and Riddle for some reason have been able to seem to break that glass ceiling when it comes to the main roster for now. But then again, Kevin Owens was high for a while too. Let's hope they continue it before. No. But yeah, right now Damian Priest is undefeated and wins the U.S. title. Good booking, no problem with that. Interestingly enough, though, they bring in Priest here for the joke, and we never see him again. So there is that here on NXT. But I guess it's fine.
He was just there for the party.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I mean, he's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. But I thought for sure he was actually going to be the priest, even though they mentioned that maybe he could have pulled a Beth Phoenix and got ordained before the ceremony, but did not happen. So next we had a interview segment with Carmelo Hayes. He's the breakout tournament winner here. Hayes says life is great, and he now has, quote, the juice. Okay. But he admits there is a target on his back, so he called a friend to help watch his back. That friend is Trick Williams, another name that's kind of Trick. I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of this guy in my life or seen him. So a lot of these NXT talents are going to be that way, I think, for a bit until we get they're going to get known to us. Carmelo is acting too humble, yet Trick claims he and Carmelo are booty. Is that how they say that? Is that how you pronounce it? Bowdy. There you go. Thank you. Hayes. It was spelled wrong. I couldn't read it. Hayes flips a switch and he cuts a heel promo, proclaiming himself as the chosen one. When Melo shoots, Hayes says he does not miss. So they leave for this interview, and out comes Duke Hudson. He enters the set ready for a match that was apparently next. Hudson stops on his way to the ring, and Hudson tells Hayes he, quote, got lucky when Hayes beat Hudson in the tournament. Hudson then saunters past them on the way to the ring, kind of gives him that shoulder brush, a little bit there. Trick says stuff like that stops tonight. Trick removes his shirt, and he jumps Hudson. Hayes joins in on giving Hudson a beatdown here. Interestingly enough for me, though, I get they're kind of giving this edge to Carmelo Hayes and stuff like that. But is it just me or does Duke Hudson just look like a heel? I mean, he's got that.
He is a heel.
Well, he is, but then you got these guys going heel on him. So is he a babyface, though? It's kind of, but.
No, he's being a dick.
Yeah.
1 week
that's a heel move.
Next week he'll be beat down by a heel and be a face.
Yeah.
I gotta put you in place.
Later.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think Duke Hudson's definitely got a future with. He's got the look. He's got a great heel look on top of that. Interesting though, as have they said when this breakout tournament, championship opportunity has to be cashed in, kind of like a Money in the Bank thing, or is it just whatever he wants to do?
I guess whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I think it's whatever.
They've never gave any specifics.
Okay, I just didn't remember how last year's went.
Any title shot he wants.
Okay, well, you would think he'd go for the NXT World Championship, but why else would you? I mean, but sometimes we've never really seen somebody use one of these opportunities to say, "I want the U.S. title," or I want the Intercontinental title. That's what the North American.
Which I always feel like it's an interesting dynamic to have. Like, yeah, I get it. Everybody goes for that, but that's not what I want.
It would give importance to the mid card title if you did that, but I just don't know if they're ever going to do that.
No.
But
they'll screw it up and have him chase the 24/7 title.
Well, I hope it ain't a main roster title to begin with. But yeah, I mean, 24/7, I don't think should be on any of these shows, let alone the main roster show. Then next we had a backstage segment where apparently Mandy Rose is going to be debuting a new look. So yeah, I mean, they don't really talk about it here in the article, but apparently we had. Is it Caden Carter? No, it's Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. They're in the back looking at someone off screen, and we don't see who it is, but they mention it's Mandy, and we just see her from the backside. She had like this hood up and stuff, so we don't see exactly what she looks like, but apparently she's got a new look. So then we had the match with Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro defeated Gigi Dolan and JC Jane via disqualification when this person runs in and attacks them, and it's Mandy Rose. She pulls the hood off, and she's got brunette hair now. Nothing. I mean, I don't care what color she has, blonde, brunette, black hair, whatever. To me, it's just like the whole storyline was you got hit in the face and you had to wear the face mask a la Sheamus on Raw, and now your face is fine, but you got to color your hair. It's a little weird to me, but that notwithstanding, it's a change. Cool, whatever. Any thoughts on that?
I didn't even fucking say it.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I'm just saying maybe they're going to saying she's got a darker side to her now, so darken the hair.
Well, and I guess the hair was darker, but they did add some makeup lines around her eyes a little bit, but it wasn't like anything drastic. Like her face was broken with the or whatnot. Of course, Sheamus has had his nose broken for a long time now. He's still wearing a mask, but I don't know. It just felt a little weird. Just kind of like, all right, you're cool. But during this match, this is where the segment that took place involving Kyle O'Reilly, they did an old episode of Impact to the back, so it is. And Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland, they jumped Kyle O'Reilly in a sneak attack. And it happened about the time Mandy ran in.
Okay.
But yeah, this was literally like 10 seconds tops. And they show like this locker room, and O'Reilly's just getting no weapons. Nothing. It's just getting beat up, and then, of course, Von Wagner run in to make the saves, and the heels ran off. To me, it's like, okay, this leads to a segment later where Kyle O'Reilly is taken out of the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Championship at the end of this show because he was attacked in the back. They only showed like 10 seconds of it, no weapons. It wasn't, obvious that he could not wrestle. So it's like, all right, he took a small beating, fine, he'll be fine. But LA Knight can wrestle a full match, and he's still in the Fatal 4-Way in the main event. Just didn't make much sense. To me, if you're going to do this, you should have them completely lay him out, like, with weapons, make it more substantial. Does that make any sense? That way, it just kind of makes more narrative sense. But for whatever reason, they wanted to pull O'Reilly out of this. So any thoughts on as to why that could be, or just wanted to get over Von Wagner a little bit, I guess?
I don't know. I mean, if that was the goal, then give him LA Knight's spot.
Yeah.
And
LA
keep
Knight
O'Reilly
loses.
in.
Yeah, LA Knight loses and gets beat up after or something. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
A lot of people are speculating because O'Reilly is a smaller guy, that sort of thing.
See,
I know,
and that's the thing. Here's the thing, because it's because everybody has already have a negative
for reasons, though, man. It's not like the reasons are not.
I understand that too, but we don't know for sure. Nobody knows. There could be, for all we know, another reason as to why, but we're going to jump to this conclusion because it's the only one we feel comfortable with,
and we've had history to prove it could be also true. But again, you're right. It may not be true in this case, but we've seen WWE do things like this.
And I told you last night too, when Big E won. He gave the belt to Daniel Bryan, and I get the reason why everybody says he did it, but Daniel Bryan had that belt for a fucking while. Mm-hmm. He also gave it to Finn Balor, but Finn Balor got hurt. Mm-hmm. Seth Rollins carried that belt for a while. Kevin Owens carried it for a while. These are not your typical Vince McMahon guys, and yet they all had pretty good title runs, with the exception of Kofi Kingston, which was,
well, he had a good run. The ending was terrible, but yeah.
But again, he puts, we can't be like, oh, it's just always big guys. That's a lie. It's not. Braun Strowman was shit, and his title run was even shittier. But
I get your point.
I can't just be like, he didn't give Kyle O'Reilly that shot because he gave it to fucking Champa. And I get what you think. Like, all right, it'll go to Rex or whatever. But that may not be the case either.
It could just simply be the fact that they're building Pete Dunne and O'Reilly. I mean, that could be because Pete Dunne did sign an extension with WWE this week as well. So maybe it may just be that alone, and that's nothing else to it. And other than the fact they wanted to get a new guy's name over in the main event, which the only problem with that to me is you didn't earn a title shot. But that's WWE anyway.
You could have taken, left O'Reilly in it and taken out, because this is your perfect opportunity to take out Knight. If you're going to take somebody out, take Knight out.
Because not only lost. You could do the injury thing after the match he lost, or you could just say Knight lost. You don't deserve to be in it now because you didn't prove your worth. So,
and then to even say, okay, then why would you add a nobody? Say we're going to give one of these new hires a chance to prove themselves, and go up against the best of the best that we have. Obviously, if they're going for the NXT title, they are the best of the best, and we're going to give one of these guys a shot. And boom, there you go.
I'd rather be non-title if you were doing that against the best of the best. But to me, it's like I know WWE don't book this way, but to me, it's like at least show me you earned it. Here that's a guy none of us has ever seen ever, and you're in a world title match opening night. Okay,
yeah, but it's that thing where Vince could come out and say, okay, this is your chance to grab that brass ring. I'm giving you this one opportunity to show me my investment or my time or my money is being spent well. He goes on and lose, but he has a good showing. That's a different. When you lose, but you have a good showing, it's still a win. You know what I mean? But to give it some narrative sense as to why he's there and not someone else on the roster who's more deserved. Well, there ain't that many fucking guys either that are there. So
then you could always have the argument. Well, he jumped all these guys. You were there. There's always ways to argue for or against it. But it wasn't my cup of tea in this particular case. But
I would have done a little tournament with all the new signings you had. The winner of that,
just put Carmelo Hayes in it. He won a tournament for the world title or a title match. Have him go in there.
Yeah, but then that's a waste of his, opportunity.
I guess, But at the same time, at least it would have had some narrative backing to it in this particular case. But I see your point for sure. So Rose is dressed all in black. Her hair is cut short with her leather jacket and boots. Rose is also wearing a beanie on her head, waiting for a big reveal. She attacks Catanzaro, and the referee calls for the bell. The big reveal comes when Rose shows her new hair color. Sarai ran in to run off the heel trio from the beatdown here. And as soon as they went to commercial, I knew exactly what was coming. And I know a lot of other YouTubers and podcasters have said, And as soon as we come back from break, we get the Monday Night Raw booking. We must have a 6-woman tag match. It's like, so here we go. I mean, again, not to say that you can't do that sometimes, but it's like we've seen it ad nauseum on the main roster. That's my problem with it. But I mean, that notwithstanding, I don't think they had a terrible match or anything like that. But it was just like you could have just started with the 6-woman tag. That's always the argument, or the 6-man tag when they do it. Yeah, I mean, so Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane defeat Saray, Caden Carter, and Casey Catanzaro here. Trying to see, Carter is briefly distracted, trying to dodge an attack by Jane that allows Rose to strike. Rose delivers a knee strike, and she covers Carter for a pinfall. So, it also kind of begs the question where we go with the NXT Women's Tag titles right now. I mean, there's a lot of young teams, not many contenders.
Yeah, but there was a lot of dead space in that too.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say nullify the victory that
you're talking about this match, yeah. Or what?
Yeah,
okay.
But it's just like in the women's tag division in WWE, there was just a lot of dead air.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, you call up the biggest stars outside of Ember Moon, which apparently she's talking online about going through a change too, like Mandy Rose did. So who knows what they got cooked up for her? But Shotzi, Shotzi, what do they call it now? Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Knox, they're just Shotzi and Tegan, which are supposedly supposed to be the number one contenders, by the way, but no follow up there yet. And of course, Toni Storm, sporadic on SmackDown right now. So your women's roster on NXT is kind of lacking at the moment anyway. And it should also be noted here as well, last week before the rebrand, they had advertised a match with Frankie Monet challenging Raquel Gonzalez for the women's title on NXT this week. Completely cut from the show. No explanation, no nothing. I'm assuming we'll get that at some point, but who knows? It may just be scrapped. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. So, again, it's kind of one of those things that WWE's been doing lately on the main roster shows as well, where they will literally advertise one thing, and the following week it's completely changed. Like on Raw, we were supposed to get the tag team title match with Bobby Lashley and MVP versus RK Bro. Then they changed it to a straight-up WWE title match with Randy Orton and Bobby Lashley. They do this constantly, and it's false advertising to me, and I don't really care for it. I wish they'd stop it. I get cards subject to change, but me and Mike has had this discussion too, that's not what this is for. Cards subject to change is supposed to be for injury sakes or some real life incident, not because you don't know what you're booking week to week and you change it on the fly. There's a difference. But I guess NXT is going to fall into that mold now. Unfortunately, NXT used to deliver just about everything they advertise, and let's hope it doesn't become a trend. But that's just my opinion. You guys got any other thoughts on that one?
I got stuff to say about the tag title stuff after the review's done.
About Raw. Okay, well, we can do that.
Raw in general.
Yeah, we'll talk a little wrestling in general after this NXT review is over. I'm
saving my rants for after the review.
Okay. I guess they did kind of follow up a little bit on the Mandy Rose and Sarai having a beef with the face injury we talked about earlier, so that may be a thing that continues as well. So we'll see where they go with that. A commercial tie-in with an insurance company promotes WWE Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez, so at least she got her face on the show. William Regal is joined by an interview correspondent, Mackenzie Mitchell, for an announcement about the main event. Kyle O'Reilly is out of the Fatal 4-Way, as we mentioned, and was replaced by Von Wagner, who saved O'Reilly. It's Cal Bloom, which I believe he was one of the other members who was a second-generation wrestler. I can't remember the relationship there.
Wayne Bloom was one of the Beverly Brothers.
Okay, so that was the Beverly Brothers guy. Okay, so, and I know apparently, according to reports here, Vince McMahon is apparently really high on Von Wagner, which is probably why he got to the main event. So, okay, there's
look how big he is.
Yeah, that, plus apparently, according to reports, he views Von Wagner as the next coming of Edge. I don't know where he's seeing that part, but
long blonde hair.
I guess so. But apparently that's his feeling on him, which we'll have to wait and see. Time will tell on that one.
Then we had promo skill.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, a lot of these promos tonight too. That's another thing to talk about, especially like with the Carmelo Hayes stuff as well. Very scripted, you could tell, I think, and not, again, this is developmental, so it's going to happen, but some of the promos were not the greatest on this show, and a lot of these guys and gals are young, so it's going to take some time. So I'm not going to hurt it or anything, but that's just kind of like That's the reason why it probably came off certain ways. Then we had a match with Ridge Holland against Drake Maverick, who I guess is kind of jumping back and forth from Raw and NXT at this point, because he has been chasing the 24/7 title up there. But this was a big-time squash match, in my opinion. Ridge Holland, obviously the much bigger guy, going over against the poor little Drake Maverick, who signed a contract extension, I guess. But, I mean, if he's happy, all the more power to him, no doubt. He definitely seems to be one who enjoys being there. But Holland mauled Maverick.
The occasional squash.
Yeah, and squashes are good. In this case, Maverick is set up to do that. He's the guy who's there to make the other stars look good. And Holland is a guy they want to push. So nothing wrong with that booking, no doubt. Yeah. This is the underdog tries to fight back sort of situation, but to no avail, as he gets covered pretty quickly here. Then we get Champa backstage promo. He mentions it has been 908 days since Champa had Goldie, which is his pet name for the NXT Championship belt. A little bit of foreshadowing there. But I still kind of wonder. The NXT belts still resemble the aesthetic and the color scheme. Granted, they're gold, so they're going to look like yellow anyway, unless you change them up. Do you think they're maybe going to change up the looks of these belts since it's a new rebranding?
Probably. I mean, I do. They'll give it that goofy-ass color of the fucking leather, which I hate.
Well, yeah, what if the leather strap is that multicolored rainbow stuff?
I'll write NXT off for sure.
Yeah, then it will be Nickelodeon NXT or whatever Mike likes to call it here.
I say Nickelodeon NXT.
Nickelodeon NXT, yeah. So, I mean, I hope not. I mean, I don't necessarily mind if you want to change the look, but just don't make it look too Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? If you want to keep a little bit of gold in there and maybe change a little bit. But I just don't think every title needs to look the same like it does on the main roster, because the women's look exactly like the men with just a different color strap. It's like, it's okay to have different looking belts. So, and they have a few of those on the main roster, to be all fair and all. Next, we got a interesting promo package here. Tony D'Angelo is apparently walking the streets, look like New York or Chicago or something like this. I guess Chicago kind of got Italiano, like a Sopranos type thing.
I thought he mentioned Chicago in his promo.
He might have then.
I believe he's supposed to be from Chicago.
Yeah, he talks about being in a mafia without saying he's actually in the mafia. D'Angelo mentions he's a great amateur wrestling background, but that does not pay. He is now in the family business. D'Angelo is also coming to NXT where he says the money is at. So it'd be interesting to see how this gimmick plays out. It could be good. It could be terrible. I mean, what if he's like this, Godfather type?
Hold on, man. Guido made it work.
Yeah. Did he, though? I don't know if he did. I mean, I guess that's the interpretation, too. I've never been a big Guido fan, but I don't know. We'll see. This is just kind of like, okay, this felt like your 80s gimmick type thing. Now we got a mob boss here in NXT, possibly. But, yeah, any thoughts on this gimmick?
The second coming of the Mama Luke.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of those situations that I can't say anything because I haven't seen it. Like, not in the sense like I haven't watched it, seen it. Like I don't know where the hell they're going.
Not only it feels a little stereotypic to me. He's like, "Hey, Tony," because his name is literally Tony.
Hey, you got lay it on thick, man.
I don't know, but he definitely kind of had that, mafia vibe to it, no doubt about it. So we'll see where this goes. I'm intrigued.
When Razor Ramon first debuted, they did vignettes like this, and I wasn't into it at first.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Just give it a little time, and let's just see where it goes first. Then we'll decide whether or not it sucks.
Yeah, fair enough. Then we get Julius and Brutus Creed with Diamond Mine versus Dan Jarmon and Trevor Skelly. This is pretty much another glorified squash match here with the Creed brothers from Diamond Mine getting the victory. I think they made their debut, last week or the week before, and they've already been squashing people.
I missed last week, so.
I mean, they've got a good look to them. You even mentioned, though, when on your rewatch that you thought the crowd was a little dead for this.
I think they're upset.
Into it.
Maybe.
I think they're upset.
That's possible. I mean, there were.
When the match was over, you could almost see them golf clapping him.
Yeah, Well, and to be fair, this show was loaded with a bunch of stuff outside of the Fatal 4-Way and the InDex wedding, which we're going to get to. The crowd seemed to be into those a little bit, but I'm not going to lie. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to the Fatal 4-Way. I wasn't super impressed with that match. I just thought it didn't have what it should have had. It just felt those guys could have better matches than that. So I don't know what. Maybe this whole thing is not clicking with. I mean, these are used to the old way. I don't know.
I think what it is it's one of those situations where, okay, so it's like when you just don't like something, right?
Right.
But you're like, you know what? I'm open to trying new things. We'll see where it goes. But the whole time you're trying this thing you know you don't like, you just don't like it.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of
And
those people who come to NXT are diehard NXT fans.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's
Yeah.
one of those situations where you don't like it. So you're going into a situation where you're already like, I'm not gonna like any of this shit. So you'll sit there, and regardless of the fact that like I like those people in the ring, I know those people, but I don't like this. So you're going to just go, I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
There's
There's that.
It felt like you were watching the tag team version of Braun Breaker because they were dressed like him. They
Yeah.
wrestled, kind of wrestled like him too.
Uh-huh.
So
It's
like, okay, we saw this in the first match.
Yeah, it's like, but it's not a fair shake because I mean, and you're not wrong for feeling that way. It's just like I don't like this. You know what I mean? And so I'm already watching this, going, I don't like this. So I'm going into it's like going to see a movie, and you listen to all of the reviews for the movie. It's bad. So you're already in your mind, you're like, this is gonna be a bad movie. So you set your expectations low already.
Sometimes that works to your
like,
advantage, but
sometimes
you also expect it to be bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you just go into it with the notion that it's going to be bad, and even if it isn't bad by any means, you're just already like, yeah, I don't like it. So you're not going to let yourself like it, regardless of the fact that like I know the guy on the screen, I love his movies, I even love him as an actor, but I don't like this. It sucks because like I said before. For a lot of people, it's the whole package that NXT was, and now that's gone.
Yeah,
and you clearly know why it's gone.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're getting a lot of the negativity.
It's a thing too, because like Triple H brought something. Triple H brought a certain feel to it, and yeah, you're gonna say that like Vince is taking over, but Triple H is still. It doesn't feel the same.
Well, that's why most people don't buy that story. And Mike even sent us a report that came out today that actually Shawn Michaels was the one who ran the backstage stuff for this show because Vince was not there. He did okay the script and did look over the script and all that to give us a thumbs up on it. Kevin Dunn was obviously behind the production. You could tell by all the cuts and zoom ins and outs, which is like, stop it. But at the same time, you know, just because Shawn was back there, I'm sorry, watching this show, this is a Vince McMahon production, all top to bottom. I mean, if you watch anything.
Hands down. And it's a Vince, and Shawn might have been back there, but that's not the same Shawn it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, or like people were saying, well, Hunter, he's still running NXT. Well, right now he's not, first of all, because he's recovering from heart surgery or whatever he had, first of all. Second of all, if you've watched NXT over the last 6 months or so, at least, you can tell that some of the booking is not the way it used to be booked back in the day of NXT's heyday with the great takeovers and stuff. Some of that stuff, Triple H would never have booked a wedding on his NXT shows. It just...
Yes, he would have.
It hasn't before.
He was already telling that story. That wedding was happening, bro.
But this whole thing started. But don't get me wrong. And this wedding was fine. But again, all this stuff with the wedding was within the last 6 months. So some of the bad booking that's been going on, who's to say that was Hunter's idea? It probably was Vince's.
That's a wedding I want to attend.
Wait, no, the Indie and
it's
Loomis
been this
thing
year.
was started for a while.
This year, not before this. I mean, ever since they've gone to USA is when this started. When they moved to USA, NXT took a nosedive when it comes to the booking and everything. You can't deny that. Go back and watch those NXT shows that were only an hour on the network. Way better. All that booking started to go downhill with some of the things that they were doing.
USA since AEW started, haven't they?
It's not been that long ago. Well, I mean, it might not have been.
Yeah, dude. This Indy Hartwell and stuff stopped long before this whole Vince takeover thing was happening. This was a story they were telling between Dexter Loomis and Indy Hartwell for a while.
I just don't recall it being that long. Maybe this year, like the last 8-9 months, but not before that, was it? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But
it's been going for a while.
Well, remember, I've only been watching NXT since Mania. So, in all fairness, cut me some slack. But
it's been happening for a fucking while.
Well, I don't. If that's the case, that's fine. But
because he started off as this weird stalker.
Well, that I get, but I didn't think he was only stalking Indy.
No, he wasn't.
Well, then
but she became infatuated with him, just like he became infatuated with her.
Yeah, but that's within since Mania, though, and because I've seen all that.
I mean,
Yeah, but again, that's since Mania. That's been the last 6 months or so. So to me, that's when it went downhill.
This has been something that started long before you started.
Well, Dexter, yes.
Well,
true.
This was a long ass storyline, by the way.
I'm just saying, ever since they went to USA, I've noticed a decline from what the NXT I've seen before. That's all.
At least it wasn't a storyline that lasted 2 weeks and got dropped.
Well, thank God for that. But yeah, I mean,
kidnapped, drugged, and took to a drive-through wedding.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I'm not saying that was the best booking either, but we all remember it fondly because it was the Attitude Era. Yeah,
it's like we talked about this at work too. Yeah, you know what they couldn't do? Like, this is the thing. People will say they missed the way the Attitude Era was.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage in the Attitude Era too, man.
Yeah, the Attitude Era brought you a situation where a dude fucked a corpse.
Yeah, or one old elderly woman gave birth to a hand. I mean, there's a lot of garbage.
But it's clearly implied.
You remember the good times.
We also watched the Big Boss Man. We also watched the Big Boss Man drag Big Show in a fucking casket.
He supposedly, chopped up Al Snow's dog and fed it to him. I mean,
there's we also saw a situation where they tried to crucify a man on live TV.
Yeah, or where Big Boss Man's dragging Big Show's father's casket behind his car.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of garbage, and WCW did it too. So, I mean, yeah, we can crap on a lot of these for sure, but it's not nothing new. There's been garbage in wrestling for years, probably of all ever since its inception. There's been a lot of garbage, especially some of this crazy stuff they booked. But that notwithstanding, let's get back to some of the show here, I guess. So in a post-match promo, the Diamond Mine get into the ring. And Malcolm Bivens introduces the audience to the newest member of Diamond Mine. She is Ivy Nile.
Okay, time out. Real quick, that chick looks mean as fuck. I seen a picture. Is it the blonde-haired broad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Jack blonde-haired broad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a picture of her. I was like, yo, negative. I was like, yo, who is this lady? I was like, that is not cool. She is big as hell.
Did she have a chain wrapped around her, if I remember correctly?
I don't know.
It's been a few days since I've seen the show, but I'm pretty sure she had a chain that she was holding. But anyway, she reminded me of Ronda Rousey. A little bit. No, again, anytime you have like an MMA looking fighter standing in the ring, I get it.
Make that
I'm not saying she just kind of had that look though. I mean, Layla Hirsch on AEW has that look to me too. A much shorter Ronda Rousey, but she kind of reminds me of that vibe. But that's just me. I
gotta tell you something about that after this too. This is not appropriate for the show. I'll tell you later.
All right, cool. Then we had the NXT Cruiserweight Champion Kushida interrupted Bivens' promo to tell Bivens they talk too much. Bivens challenges Kushida to a title match against Roderick Strong. Kushida accepts the challenge, thus making a title match for next week. So at least this is a storyline they have been building for a while, and they're going to follow through with it. Yeah, so good.
That's fine.
We need to see that. No
Kushida's the shit, by the way.
Oh yeah, but yeah. So Tomas. So then we have the main event match here. Tommaso Ciampa defeated Pete Dunne, LA Knight, and Von Wagner in a fatal 4-way to win the vacant NXT title. I'm not gonna lie here. I thought Von Wagner actually looked good for the time he was in this match. But again, as a whole, yeah, you could say the crowd kind of like wasn't a fan of what they were doing. But at the same time, this match, to me, regardless of what the crowd thought, didn't quite live up to the NXT standards. But again, some of this is going to suffer a little bit just because of some of the changes they're making and the people they're introducing. Nobody knows, so the crowd's not going to be invested until you get us invested in them. So that's going to be a thing.
It doesn't feel like it lasted very long either.
Yeah, exactly. It just
kind of came pretty quick.
Well, not only that, because they had to get this wedding in, and they went over the 10 o'clock hour, which I think they do occasionally, but it felt like they were really trying to get this in a time crunch, no doubt. So, I mean, it basically come down to Knight was able to give Dunne a superplex, only for Wagner to jump in with a superplex on LA Knight for another 2 count. Ciampa punts Wagner to break up the count. And a fairy tale ending finisher by Ciampa as he covered LA Knight 1, 2, 3. So for the second time this night, LA Knight got beat again. A lot of people felt like this was a bit of a burial of LA Knight. Again, maybe not, but you beat a guy twice who's been one of the mainstays, one of the better storylines on NXT over the last 6 months with the whole Cameron Grimes stuff, which, again, Cameron Grimes is only on the show barely.
That's a 2-part system.
Yeah.
Cameron Grimes did a lot also.
Right.
In that to make that storyline good.
Yeah.
burial. I don't fucking know. I wouldn't go that far. That's one thing we gotta stop doing. It's just going immediately. He's dead. It's over.
Yeah. A lot of people feel like burials are one. People have lost what the idea of a burial is. Just because a guy loses doesn't mean they're getting burial.
3 finishers before he got beat.
Yeah, that's true. I would have liked to have seen that too, but it just I think it feels more like that in this case, just because he got lost twice in one night.
I get that.
But yeah, every time someone loses, it's not a burial, guys. Calm down. It's not always the case.
Still in pickles?
But anyway, Goldie is
like
apparently
raccoon.
Yeah, Goldie is coming home with the Tommaso Ciampa, though. I got no problem with Tommaso holding the belt. I love Ciampa, but let's see what they do with Tommaso Ciampa moving forward here as they get a little bit of a tease at the end of the show. That leads us to the wedding of InDex. Let's get through this here. The NXT roster members file in as a guest to the wedding. Johnny Gargano, playing the father figure, walks Indy Hartwell down to the aisle very quickly, like steps too, which I thought was pretty.
Shit,
double time,
right?
Yeah, double time. We got places to go.
Wrap it up. I got a lot of money in this. Let's go. If all weddings could go this fast, sign me up, Chief.
Yeah, I'll be like, get in, get out, go.
I'll be at your wedding. I'll be at everybody's wedding. If I ain't gotta sit there for 6, let's roll. Let's make it happen. Get up there. I do. Boom. Drink. Yeah. I'm down.
As the ceremony begins, we learn some middle names. Loomis's name is apparently Dexter Gaylord Loomis. Not sure that was necessary, but apparently that is the case. And Indy's is Ophelia. Indy Ophelia. I don't think Brandon even knew that, did he? He never. We're gonna kill Brandon here with that lose. You heard me right. They went that. See, this is what happens when you only watch clips, Brandon. You miss details. But yes, Dexter Gaylord Loomis is his full name. Why? How do we move forward? I'm sorry. I want to get the reaction. But anyway, the official presiding the ceremony does the dearly beloved routine, and then he asks who is here to give Hartwell away. Gargano cuts to a promo, but Candice LeRae has to stop him. Gargano asks Austin Theory if he has the rings.
All his names.
Yeah. Theory says we're in a ring, silly. Of course it will. Yeah.
Wait. Did you say who here gives her away? My man goes into a promo?
Yeah.
He calls himself...
Yeah.
Johnny Takeover.
Yeah, Johnny Wrestling. I Johnny Wrestling. I Johnny Takeover. Give her away. Yeah, it was. And then she went to. And then she went to move. He wouldn't unlock her arm, so she was like, Candice had to go pull him off of her. So that was even better. So yeah, this was comedy gold. Johnny Gargano. This segment was comedy gold here.
You hasn't even said my favorite part.
Oh, no, we've not gotten to the good stuff. We broke Brandon. We broke him. Ikemen Jiro then stands up wearing his flashy sports jacket and trunks. Almost everyone in the ring raised their hand. Okay, before we get to that, Ikemen Jiro is the one holding the ring in his jacket when he opens it up. So he's like standing there in these like rainbow-colored tights, and it's just like the most silliest thing in the world. So
you got to mention, when they mentioned the ring, Austin Theory goes, we're in the ring.
Yeah, we're in the ring, silly. Of course, yeah. So there's that. So he didn't have the rings. Ikemen Jiro did.
He's retarded.
Yeah. Almost.
Oh, God,
and then
I can't.
We get to the point. This has gone off the rails so fast.
Brandon's about to break me.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, the official then says, does anyone here, have any objections? Everybody, including people in the crowd, raised their hand because Dexter Loomis is supposed to be this psycho stalker. So, yeah. So when everyone raises their hands, including everybody in the ring, Loomis looks around while opening up his jacket to reveal he's got a hatchet in his jacket, and everybody in the building put their hands down. This was... This was gold. And of course, Dexter.
Watch just this.
Dexter is deadpan selling the whole thing, and it's perfect. No doubt about it.
You forgot to mention Gargano was basically mic'd up, so he's like throwing in comments throughout the whole ceremony.
Yeah.
And when Loomis reveals the hatchet and everybody starts to put their hands down, he goes, "Yeah, serves you guys right."
Man, I even watched this, and I gotta go back and watch it again. This is too good. Yeah, going over it with you guys, I see why everybody's saying best wedding ever. Now, I still don't know if it tops Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth with the snake bite, all that stuff from SummerSlam all those years ago. But this
that
is
was the reception. Nobody cares about that.
well, good point. But yeah, but this was gold. Hartwell then starts to read her vows. She tells Loomis he is misunderstood, and many people see him as a creep. She goes, or sees him as a. Oh, okay. She sees him as her cuddly teddy bear. Some people see Loomis as a stalker, while she sees as a caring man with a well-groomed mustache and tight clothes that never takes his eyes off me. And then she says, many people call him a freak. She goes, yeah, he's a freak. Damn right he is. And
don't forget the best part of that, what she also said about, I still remember the night you snuck into my bed while Candace and
yeah, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. She says Dexter's my freak. Indy says she goes to say she remembers the night he climbed into Gargano's house late at night because they had to So Loomis quickly covers the microphone, cutting off Indy's story like, no, don't tell that story. And of course Gargano and Candace are like, what? He snuck into your room, that sort of thing. Just Papa John going crazy here. So Gargano is in disbelief. Indy says Dexter is cute when he is upset like that. She also put him over for never losing a staring contest, because of course not. She says they understand each other and she loves him. The guests pop with applause at these vows because, again, Dexter's just selling all this the whole time. It's absolutely incredible. Now it's Dexter's turn to recite his vows. The crowd goes, the whole crowd just, we want to hear him talk, Can
I reenact his vows?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, lower it. We can't see you. Lower it. Yeah, thumbs up.
Oh, sorry.
That's all he did. Thumbs up. No words at all. Best vows ever, in my opinion here.
If I don't get to go to a wedding like this, I ain't fucking doing another one in life. If your wedding don't top this shit right here, don't call me.
But it was just great to me because the crowd were like, oh God, he may speak. Everybody, shh, shh. Everybody was literally shushing everybody. It was great. And then, of course, it's dead silent. He just goes. That's it. So it was absolutely perfect. So the wedding officiant then calls out Dexter Loomis, saying, Hartwell poured her heart out to you. He cannot believe that Loomis has absolutely nothing to say for his wedding vows. The officiant is now causing a scene. So Loomis snatches the officiant and puts him in a chokehold. And Loomis puts him to sleep.
Going, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, he's don't do it. And so he puts him to sleep in the middle of this ceremony. So he's out cold. This is about as close as you get.
More of Brandon than anything, right?
This is what I enjoy about doing these shows because I'm literally a lot of times telling Brandon what happened. He's just like, or laughing his ass off. So it's great. This is the equivalent to a ref bump in a wedding, and definitely a first for weddings that I've seen.
Right, I've never seen an officiate or a priest or
a holy man, the reverend, is out.
Sweet Lord.
So Gargano decides, okay, we got to do something here. Gargano starts a chant for William Regal to come in and preside over the wedding, and the camera cuts to William Regal, and he's like, "No, there's no way in hell I'm doing that." And then of course they got the zombie referee behind him going,
"Oh my God!"
And some of the crowd is actually chanting for Priest too.
Yeah, Damian Priest. They wanted Priest to come in, but that's when Beth Phoenix, who has obviously been championing this relationship for many months now, jumps into the ring. She has a history in this storyline, she says, as she helped play the matchmaker. Phoenix is in the past urged Hartwell to make a move on Loomis. Now they are getting married, and Phoenix is saving their relationship once again. Phoenix has been a strong supporter of InDex. Phoenix says she has got ordained as a minister, so she saw this coming right away. I don't know. I guess she thought
you always got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared in these wrestling. Yeah. So she can apparently now officiate this wedding. So great foresight on the Glamazon's part. Phoenix says, "Let's cut to the chase." So Andre Chase stands up because his last name is Chase, and to interrupt because
Andre Chase.
Yeah, he thinks she's talking to him, and then of course Odyssey Jones walks up from behind, grabs him by the shoulder, sits him back down. So. Yeah,
I'm telling you now, if your wedding ain't like this, I ain't fucking coming.
I don't think there's anybody in the world who can top this, but yes, this is. So Indy Hartwell says her "I do" when Phoenix asks her. Beth Phoenix then asks Dexter Loomis. So Dexter Loomis. There's a long pause. Beth Phoenix says, "We can take that as a yes from Loomis," but Loomis grabs the mic, and Loomis, of course, everybody again, shh, he might say something. He goes, "Oh, you want a reenactment?"
No, you go.
Okay. He basically he takes the mic and he goes, "I," and everybody goes, and then long pause for about, it had to be a good 10 seconds, and then he goes, "Do," like that. And of course, everybody, including the officials, Austin Theory jumps up. I mean, and everybody in the crowd loses their ever-loving minds at this because we've never heard Dexter talk. This build-up was one, and the payoff was one of the best things I've probably ever seen as a professional wrestling wedding. So the crowd goes bananas. So
this will be known as the best wedding in fucking history.
I can believe that. So as much as this show was rough starting out, they had a hell of an ending here. Phoenix then pronounces them husband and wife. She says, "You may kiss the bride." The couple kiss for a happy ending. And so, yeah, that's pretty much that for the wedding ceremony. But there's a little segment here at the end of this. So, yeah, as Brandon catches his breath from this, overall thoughts on this wedding? Obviously, we loved it here.
Best wedding ever.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I gotta watch it again.
I'm tell you right now, if my kid's wedding ain't like this, I ain't fucking going.
Brandon, go watch this. Absolutely, find it on the network because I think it should be on there now.
I'm going.
Should be on Peacock.
Yeah.
Hell,
I'm watching
if you guys
this.
want to watch the wedding and not have to fast forward, just find it on YouTube, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
If
Yeah.
I can find the whole ceremony, I'm watching it.
It's just the build up and the build up that, like you said, has been going on for months. So yeah, I mean, no big brawl to end it, which was refreshing. So in that regard, whoever booked this, they did a good job. I'm not going to mince words with that. I want to give them credit where it's due. Yeah.
Everybody played their part too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, many people played parts, and this was absolutely perfect. So it's just you got to watch the reactions and the interactions. Oh, it's just outstanding. So yeah, Gargano, and if he ever leaves NXT, I know there's talk about his contract and Candice LeRae's contract. Maybe they could end up leaving at some point, sometime in the next 6 months to a year. If that's the case, whoever gets them is going to get gold. I just hope that because Gargano is good at this comedy stuff, I hope he doesn't become the clown. But
I hope not either.
As long as they do it like this. You know, Cameron Grimes has had good comedy too. You could do good comedy, so we'll see what they do. But after this is over, they cut to the back though. The new NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa is watching the wedding from a backstage monitor. He is approached by Braun Breaker, who won against LA Knight earlier in the show. They shake hands in a show of respect, yet the moment is tense. They have an awkward stare down as the show fades to black. So we're obviously they're going to tease Braun Breaker probably going for the NXT title against Ciampa. I want to see him earn it more, but we'll see what they do.
I mean, staring at Goldie.
Staring at Goldie the whole time, yeah. And you know how, Ciampa clutches that thing for dear life. So we'll see how this goes. But that was the NXT rebrand. Overall thoughts, anything else you guys want to discuss here? I know Mike said something about some tag team stuff he wanted to maybe mention, but I know we're running late.
Can't wait for the honeymoon vignettes.
Oh, man.
Brother.
You think I know they do.
Time out. Could you imagine him like, like when people go to like Italy and Greece and they get those little tandem scooter situations?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine them scooting around
or on the gondola,
tandem scooters, and fucking she's like taking all these pictures, and my man is just deadpan the whole fucking time.
Oh my
and
God.
the Garganos are following them
behind him.
Yeah, with the spy cameras. Yeah. I mean, and Brandon, I don't think Brandon got to see the Bachelor and Bachelorette party too.
No,
that's worth going back and watch too. Go back and watch those too. That stuff was gold as well, especially the Bachelor part of it. So, definitely.
I know they showed some clips of that in the video package building up for the wedding and showing Loomis showing Gargano how to throw an axe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some good stuff. Of course, laser tag and Loomis, attacking all their opponents in the laser tag and things like that, to get the win. There's a lot of great stuff. So, yeah, this was great. I didn't realize how good it was the first time I saw it, but going through this, I'm like, yeah, you know what, it was great stuff. So, to Brandon's point though, there are times like, because WWE isn't always my cup of tea, sometimes I do kind of look at it in a negative light. So I'm trying to learn not to nitpick stuff so much, and I'm trying to do that with all these shows because wrestling's supposed to be fun.
And here's the thing.
Period.
At some point, you just got to have fun with something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I may not agree with everything they do, but if it entertains me, then it entertains me.
You have to get in that.
Entertain you.
Yeah.
If it entertains me, cool. I may not agree with all the choices you made. I may not agree with every booking decision. I may not like this person as champion. I may not like that person as champion. But if it's entertaining to me, for the hour or 2 hours that I've watched it.
Yeah.
And then I can't complain. If I got something out of that, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm sad I missed that fucking wedding.
Dude, by all means, definitely go see it. No doubt about it. But yeah.
Oh.
Did you want to talk something about the tag team stuff, Mike, before we leave, or you want to kind of leave it for another time?
Yeah. You were talking about the Raw tag titles were supposed to be on the line this past Monday and stuff, and then they changed everything around. And I know I've read reports about how Vince is panicked because AEW beat Raw in one of the demos.
And they did it again this week, by the way. So that was kind of.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah. They, I think AEW had a 1.175 and Raw was 1.679, despite the fact that they gave Big E the title and everything. So it actually Raw dropped. But if you imagine if Big E wasn't pushed, though, how much worse it would have been because of Monday Night Football. So we're going to see if AEW may end up rivaling Raw just because of Monday Night Football here before too long. But yeah, go on.
It kind of makes me feel like WWE is almost turning into WCW 2.0 with the rebooking here of the Raw show, because it kind of reminded me back how Eric Bischoff used to be all about the ratings on Nitro and stuff, and he'd give away these pay-per-view caliber matches, and it made me think of when they decided to hotshot the title on the Goldberg.
Good point. Yeah.
Because at that point, Raw had finally beaten Nitro in the ratings and was actually starting to pick up steam. And, I think, WCW still won every now and then, but Raw was picking up that steam. And Bischoff, he just wanted to pop that rating for 1 week. So, hey, let's give away Goldberg versus Hogan for the title in the Georgia Dome, Goldberg's hometown, Atlanta. And if I remember right, they won the ratings that night, but that was 1 week.
And I mean, and they did have a, for Raw standards as of late, a better rating than they, have had at times, but still down from the previous week. But that's the thing that I saw this past week was it's like, well, Vince just pulled an Eric Bischoff. He kind of did.
He knew people wanted to see Big E get that title win,
and that's great. I love Big E being the champion. I just feel like, again, we just felt rushed, and a lot of people share that sentiment.
But that's the fix for 1 week right there.
Yeah, and now what? Now that he's champion, I mean, you could put Bobby against him, sure, but if you listen to yesterday's show when we reviewed Raw, I just felt like the way they did it, I mean, there could have been other ways to do it to where you could bring Bobby back into it. But that notwithstanding, outside of Bobby, who's his challenger? Where do you go now? I mean,
well, you guys haven't also think it throws Drew McIntyre back into the title picture.
Well, maybe. That's true. That's true.
We think Drew's going to end up on SmackDown
because
that's possible.
He can challenge for the title as long as Bobby was champion.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. Now, and not only that, with Drew McIntyre, they've been teasing a bit of a heel edge because he attacked Sheamus after a match and stuff like that. So they kind of been teasing this. Maybe he could possibly turn, but if they're going to do a match against, if they're going to do, maybe
that's fucking shitty.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what they do with Drew.
You give Big E his one chance, and then you make him a transitional champion.
I'm not sure they'd actually give it back to Drew, but it all depends on how this draft shakes out, too. If Roman goes to Raw, all bets are off, and then if Big E but we'll just have to see what they do. But there's a lot of things you could do with that draft. But that's a theory.
This damn draft. You've already had people switching shows the last several weeks.
I still feel like you should do what they did before. You have a lot of guys. There's no sense in doing all that. Like, legitimately have a match, unify the two titles once again. Have one major fucking title. That way you got everybody vying for that one fucking title, but you still have two shows. Tag belts, you might as well get rid of one set of them. You don't need both of them.
Same with the mid-card title, in my opinion.
One set of fucking belts for each show.
Women's title too. You only need one. You barely have a division big enough for two shows with the women. Get rid of one of them belts. You don't. The women's tag, keep it fine if you want to, whatever. But the women's singles, you need to get rid of one of them. Me and Mike have had this discussion many times. I feel like they ought to merge the shows where you have the same talent on both, and like you said, get rid of some of those belts because I feel like you could do it like AEW to where you don't have to highlight everybody on every single show, and that way it keeps it fresh. But all the talent could go on both shows too. Not only that, I feel like it would keep the cable companies happy. Fox and USA, they could have everybody on different times. You don't have to have you don't have to have Charlotte Flair on every single Raw. You don't have to have Roman Reigns on every single SmackDown. You could vary it up, but I know he feels like there is merit to a split roster as well if done properly. It's just
you could still have a split roster,
properly,
but still only have one set of titles for both fucking shows.
Yeah, and they could be on both shows.
Oh, yeah, you can have the champion travel from show to show.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
There's just too many belts. I mean, not only that, the belts that they have, half of them are irrelevant because they beat their champions all the time outside of Roman. They have beaten Bobby before.
And this is why this is the perfect time to have that. This would do nothing but bolster Roman's character if he's the one who unifies those titles into one fucking solid belt, and it's like, I am the head of the fucking table. I run all of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want a title shot, you have to go.
That's what I was gonna say. If they're smart, you could do but what's the point of doing the draft if they're going to do this? So they're probably not going to do it. But that's what you use Survivor Series for.
Anyways.
I would say scrap the draft and merge everything in Survivor Series. Have champion versus champions, winner take all. That's it. That's what you do. Yep. But I don't think they're going to do it that way because we got a draft. But that's just our thoughts on it.
You're right. Don't do the fucking draft. Don't. Just use it. Use this. Say, let's go to the drawing board. Back to the drawing board on this. I honestly think it benefits you and your talent more if you had one fucking title for each. You know what I'm saying? One women's championship, one women's tag champion, tag team champion, your heavyweight champion. I mean, then you have your mid-card titles too, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
there's
going
only
back to
one
the
belt for each of those.
Right.
But they're split up on two shows. One has Intercontinental, the other has the US.
Well, then going back to the roster situation, I mean, you've got if you merge the rosters where all these talents are on both shows, there's no need to have rematch after rematch every single dang week. I mean, you can have new feuds. You can just say, okay, 1 week, you wrestle this person, then you can bring in somebody completely fresh. You don't have to do the same we've seen on Raw for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row over and over again. So that's I mean, it's not really hard to fix.
And your Survivor Series doesn't have to be Raw versus SmackDown at this point. That's
kind of overplayed.
That doesn't matter. There's no real stakes here. You know what I mean?
Just go back to the way it used to be. Do the, what was it? What was it? 5-on-5 elimination. Yeah. Go back to that stuff. I mean, that worked for a lot of years. I mean,
I miss those old days when that was basically the whole card was just 5 versus 5.
Mm-hmm. Then you have the title matches.
You know what? And to be different too, I switched it up. If you're going to give Roman this whole bloodline faction, throw a woman in there.
I still think I'm surprised Naomi's not joined yet.
Hell, throw two in there, right? So you got 2 women plus the Usos and Roman, right?
Actually, they still might do Naomi.
And then you have this way. This way, you gives you this whole mixed tag, Survivor Series situation, which will be dope to see.
Well, I'm not trying to diminish your point there, and you're right. But the Naomi thing, she wasn't on the last week or two, but there for a while she was getting into it with Sonya Deville, like, you're not paying attention to me. What if she joins the Bloodline to get that attention? It makes some narrative sense there. I'd have no problem with that if they were to pull that trigger. So maybe, I'd be fine with that. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. But I just kind of was like,
no, that's a good point. Like, you could do that.
Yeah, so we'll see if they do it.
And if you move Nia Jax over to SmackDown, she's part of that.
But if you don't make it that distinction, if you don't make that line between SmackDown and Raw, if you get rid of that line, it doesn't matter where she goes. She can go to SmackDown and be just fine. And then next week could be on Raw. You get what I'm saying? Because this opens up the door for these guys to travel back and forth, especially a champion.
And it's a shame, too, because people who go to the live shows, they're conditioned to, like say right now, if you go to SmackDown, you're going to see Roman Reigns. If you go to Raw, you're going to see Big E. But here's the thing: But that makes it a bigger thing. So you're like, if you see 1 week, hell, you got Roman, he's on fucking Raw, and you're like, but there's no distinction. So there's still 2 brands. Just there's a Raw and there's a SmackDown, but the wrestlers freely travel between each. Right.
So you're like, we go to Raw, all of a sudden Roman Reigns is there. You know what I mean?
And great, Roman's here.
SmackDown. Yeah. And that following SmackDown, he's there too, but he's fighting somebody totally different than he would have that Monday night you watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The problem is if you go to Raw right now, and if let's say Big E's not there, fans get angry because he's not there. He was supposed to be at Raw. I paid my hard-earned money to see Big E. But here's the thing: just because they're on one brand does not mean they should be on every single show. But they've been conditioned to that. That's what they're going to see. if you go to an AEW show, there's no guaranteeing you're going to see Daniel Bryan. Now, right now, because they're trying to see him every week. But right now doesn't mean you're going to see MJF every week. They don't book like that, and it keeps the talent fresh and the storylines fresh, but you don't see them every week like Charlotte Flair. Things like that. We get burnt out on these people. We want to miss them a little bit, you know?
I've been to shows where there's somebody I wanted to see, but they weren't there. I was like, oh, that sucks, but oh well, I'm seeing everything else.
Yeah, and not only that, if like
but like you said too, though, now they go in there and they're like, they expect to see this person because that's where he is all the fucking time, and they don't. They throw a hissy fit, then they get on the internet like, oh, this shit was shit. I didn't get. You know,
not like they listen to us anyway.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you are 100% correct because fucking spoiled. It is. That's what it is. You know, you go, especially now. Now, people expect one fucking thing. What is advertised? What they expect.
But yet they don't get mad
here, but they don't get it. So they're just like, fuck it, I don't like it.
Well, and if they don't deliver the advertisement, I understand they're upset there because don't tell me I'm getting something.
He's not advertised to be there, but
that's different.
Seeing him there and he's not there, then you're pissed off that he's not there. That's on you.
Well, it's not saying you can't see him for the live crowd. What if you have Big E there? He's not on the telecast, but he does dark match for the crowd. That's fine too. Or if, like, say they film like Dark or Rampage when AEW combine recordings, just because he's not on one, he'll show up on the other on TV. But for the live crowd, we get to enjoy it. So there's ways you could do it, but they just feel like they have to get everybody on every show because they're on Raw, because they're on SmackDown. I think that needs to change personally. But
yes, and like I said, I think doing this where you don't have. I'm saying this and it's a shit idea because of, I'm happy Big E has that title right now.
Yeah.
And I want him to get a healthy run out of it. But alternatively, just too many fucking titles. There's too many belts.
Especially the ones who have been booked poorly to where they have no relevance. And not only that, I worry for Big E now that he's champion is to get pinned every week because now, granted, outside of Roman and Bobby, the main titles normally don't get beaten. Bobby did a couple times based on fluke wins or distractions or whatever, so they had narrative reasons to make it whatever. But every other title's like when you win it, all right, you're not going to win again. You won the belt, but you're going to lose the next 2 months. Just ask Natalya and Tamina. So that stuff's got to stop.
But you weren't going to get no real value on an Italian Tamina anyway.
I don't know why you put the belts in the first place.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah. And then you got guys like Brock will come in and win the belt. We don't see the belt for 6 months, and then it's like, why do we care about that too?
But
so
there's people who love that shit.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like seeing Brock, but to the fact, to our credit here, Brock was not on every week. So when he was on, it was a big deal. But at the same time, he's a part timer, so you should give it to somebody who's always there. So yeah. But
people that have been there
should be there to be defended.
Yeah.
And he's not there. And it's like, okay.
Nobody
and then again with him too was one of those things too. It was agnostic. He wasn't even getting beat up to where, with the exception of Joe, maybe. Pre-hints of where you were like, yo, Joe could actually beat him.
Well, he's lost to Roman before too. I know they've wrestled multiple times before, right? I assume Roman's beat him at least once. I don't remember all the it's been a while since they had it, but again, you can kind of go back to rematch. It's been a while, but I mean, then again, it's fine if it's not immediately.
And I get, before I said, you were like, you don't pin the champion. And then Roman, to his credit, hasn't been somebody who's been pinned in the sense of like losing a match while he's on his back. It's always either he gets caught off guard, no match. He's just in the ring or whatever for whatever reason. And then he gets caught off guard and put in a situation like with Edge, and Daniel Bryan where he tapped out or whatever. That wasn't a real match. Obviously, it was just a segment and it took place. But I like the fact that you show that this guy's here and he seems to be unstoppable. But there is a vulnerable spot to him. I mean, they did it with Miro in AEW. Eddie Kingston pointed that out.
The neck, yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's always, you got to show that these guys have an Achilles heel and they're not invincible.
Yeah.
And there's ways you can do it. And they did it right with him.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
with Bobby or Roman?
If you'd have took that Roman, if you'd have took that same approach with Bobby, it would have made more sense when Xavier did what he did in order to get that win. It was a fluke win, and then they paid for that shit in the end, as they should have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He destroyed them, as he should have.
Right.
Because that's what the story calls for. But there's a way you could have went about his showing his vulnerability previous.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
Not to jump off topic here, and I know we're probably going to wrap up here before too long, but one quick question that I had a thought of. What are the odds of you guys thinking that Xavier Woods turns on Kofi and Big E?
I want it to happen. Because I think it would do great for Xavier Woods.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know if I buy the breakup just yet, and I know they've talked about how they don't want to do that
tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, yes, but eventually, maybe jealousy
I would love to see the animosity kind of start to spur in Xavier.
Mm-hmm. I'd be fine with that.
To where, like, Kofi was champion.
The world champion.
Yeah. And it's like, he hasn't. Like, what do you guys have that I don't? It becomes a thing with him to where you can see it happening. But it should be that surprise like it was that night when Seth did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like from behind, out of nowhere type of stuff, which would be good if they pull that. I don't know if they ever will, because I mean they're kind of very much beloved. They love being together as a team, that whole nine.
And the thing is too, it's hard to, it's not hard to believe because they are so close together that you wouldn't start to see these cracks, so to speak, in that friendship, because you have to show that at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
because you would assume it would be Big E to be the one to make that turn. Nobody expected Xavier to do that.
Maybe when he broke off originally.
Go ahead. Maybe give Big E a long title run,
and let Xavier go for it.
Xavier wins Money in the Bank, and then surprises everybody by cashing in on Big E.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that'd be one way of doing it.
But make it start. If you make it seem like it's this friendly thing of like, oh, come on, I wouldn't go after you.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And then, bam.
But then the realization is your other option is Roman or Lesnar. Realistically, Roman. He didn't want that problem.
Yeah. I also I got a feeling that's going to kind of be like what we discussed. Well, eventually, when we saw Kofi win, New Day celebrated with him. We saw Big E win, New Day celebrated with him. Xavier will probably do the same thing, and then people will be like, "Oh, well, we've seen this twice."
Celebration.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you want to do something different, it makes more sense.
This is the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just me and our opinions. But any other thoughts, or do you guys kind of want to wrap it up for tonight? It's up to you guys.
No, my kids are starting to ask me.
I know, and Mike's got to get to work in the morning. So, with that being said, we'll wrap up this show tonight. But this is a good little, review for NXT and a little bit of fun, just discussion here about pro wrestling on WWE in general right now. But if you're finding us for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And hopefully, we'll have our wrestling fun facts and trivia guru Mike back here for some other reviews sometime down the line here. We'll probably continue to still have our weekly trivia segments here on the channel, so definitely check those out as well. So until our next video, guys.
Easy questions.
Yeah. So until our next video, guys, take care.
Goodbye.
Talk.